Well, I don't know about the rest of the country, but the theater I was in absolutely loved this movie. So the highly anticipated FNAF, or Five Nights at Freddy's, hit the theater today, October 26th, Thursday previews, and the theater that I saw it in was not the one I was originally going to go watch it in. I ended up going to see it at Cinemark, and that theater had a lot of showtimes, like a lot, several, probably more than 10. Maybe 15. And that was more than the original theater I was going to go to, which was Regal, and it only had one at the theater at the particular location that I was going to attend. So I ended up going to Cinemark because I had more flexibility with the timing, and the theater that I was in, and I know the showtime before the one that I went to, it was almost completely full. And the crowd was very enthusiastic about this film. There was a lot of laughing because there were some parts that were a bit humorous, and also laughing just because they would see something and they recognized it. I didn't know what I was looking at. I just only understand the basics about this game. According to my daughter, there is lore to the game because I asked her about it, since there was this story about this brother and his baby sister and this whole backstory with him and stuff that was going on with her. So I was drawn into that part of it. I appreciated that part of the story. Like I said, I had no idea what I was looking at when I would see these creatures, but the audience, or people that are obviously familiar with the game, will recognize things and, I believe, appreciate it and have a good time. It wouldn't surprise me if this movie ends up being #1 this weekend, and I didn't look at any of the reviews until after I got home. Well, I looked at the Rotten Tomato score at some point after I got home. My daughter told me that the critics were savaging it, and they absolutely have been. The establishment critics, they are not fans. And I'm curious to see what the Rotten Tomatoes audience score is going to be for this movie. I have a feeling there's going to be a huge divergence. That's just my initial impression of it. So the premise of the story is there's this guy, his name is Mike. He's got a baby sister he's taking care of. I did not realize it was supposed to be his sister. The little clips and bits that I picked up from the trailers, which I did not watch because I did not want to see any of them, but I could tell, you can hear things. I could tell there was a situation where there was a child involved and this adult that was down on his luck and needed to have a job, and so he took this job out of desperation. And so the movie takes place over the course of, yes, from the time he starts work, it is spread out through 5 nights. The climax of the movie takes place on the 5th night. And for some reason, I thought the entire movie was going to take place on the one night, but I don't know why I thought that, because the title alone is a big clue. Anyway, so he's down on his luck. He has these issues. There's a scene at the beginning where he is on the job. He's like a security officer, and he assaults someone, and it's an overreaction that he has, and you wonder what the heck. And then through the course of the story, you realize that there's something about his past that affected or was the cause of what he did with this person that he assaulted in the very beginning of the movie. So that's why he's desperately searching for a job. This guy's like what'd they call it? The something career, whatever. And he helps him land this job at this location, and he's just supposed to be there. Obviously, fans of the game will know exactly the premise. He's supposed to just be there, watch the monitors, not let anybody break in. I do not know how much that is part of this story is actually woven into the game, but there's this whole backstory with this guy, stuff that happens to him when he's working there. So there's this thing he's haunted by that happened when he was a kid, and he has dreams about this particular event. And when he's at this location, when he dozes off, he has dreams about that event, but the dreams have changed and he doesn't know what's up. And so through the course of the story, he starts to piece together things bit by bit. And something that I also appreciated about this was that the movie took a turn I wasn't expecting. So there were things about these creatures, and I expected them to be a certain way, and it ended up, or I expected them to be a certain way throughout, and it ended up being something different that I did not anticipate. I don't know if that's part of the original lore. I want to say maybe not, but I could be completely wrong just because I don't know anything about this game beyond the name and that you're just supposed to try to survive. That's it. Anybody who's a fan of this, let me know how closely this matches whatever happens in the game, or if the story with this guy and his baby sister was just completely written for this story or for this movie. There is a mid-credit scene if you're interested to hang around for that. It's just kind of a little funny thing. And apparently the person in this mid-credit scene is I thought I read that he was like a YouTuber or something. I didn't recognize him. I might be wrong, but I thought that was something that I read when I was just quickly looking up whether there was a post-credit scene. So for something that I thought was funny about this also was that these creatures, and I'm sure this was intentional, but you guys, how many of you have ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese and those animatronic singing bears or animals or whatever, they were creepy. And I was getting those vibes, obviously, when I was watching this. This has to have been inspired by the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese. Surely. If not, I would be very, very surprised. But anyway, I just couldn't help but notice that. So also there's a storyline that's part of what's happening with the brother and the sister that involves his aunt and some conflicts that are going on with her. And if I had any cons to say, there were 3 cons that I had. One was the aunt, gosh, was it Mary something Masterson? Was that her name? Oh my gosh. There are no pictures over here. You guys will know her when you see her. I remember her from the 80s and she's been in plenty of stuff, but the way she played that character, in general, the acting was fine. I'll just start off by saying that the acting was fairly solid, but the way she played her character, she was like one of the antagonists, and it felt a bit cartoony. The way she hemmed up her character. I mean, parts of it were funny, and she had this lawyer with her, and he was kind of funny, and it was supposed to be comedic, but at the same time, the way she was behaving, it just felt, I mean, it was part of the writing, obviously, but the way her character was portrayed just felt a little bit, almost a bit goofy and over the top with the way I mean, you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. I mean, I didn't mind the storyline, but just the way she presented the character. That's minor. It didn't destroy my enjoyment of the film because I did enjoy it. I rated it a 3.5 on Letterboxd. Also, one other thing was there was a scene at the end where something is happening to a character and you see what's happening to this character and you understand what's going on because something about this situation has already been explained to you through a demonstration. And so when this thing starts to occur at the end and you see it, you already know it. You didn't need the characters to chime in, letting you know what was happening. That really stood out to me. And that part actually sounded like an ADR moment, like that was something that they dubbed in to make sure you understood. If you didn't get it the first time when it was demonstrated, they're letting you know this is what's happening. I felt like that part was totally not necessary. It was nothing major, just a little teeny tiny blip. Yes, there was one more small con that I forgot to mention when I was doing the review. There's a scene where a character is trying to open a door that previously, when another character had tried to open that same door, they were unable to, but this second character was able to open the door, and there was no clear explanation as to why. Obviously, for purposes of the plot, it needed to happen, but why? Why was this character able to, and the previous one couldn't? That was something that I felt should have had some sort of explanation given to it, but nothing was apparent from what I could tell. Very minor issue, just was something that I meant to bring up and forgot. Okay, back to the video. But then the final sort of con that I had was, and none of these cons are major, you guys. None of these really affected my overall enjoyment or the overall fun factor of this movie for me. There is something that happens to another character, and it's a pretty significant thing, and the character is not just a nobody's side character. So when this particular thing happens, there's no acknowledgement of it later on, and it seems like there should have been. So I'm wondering if that was a portion that might have been cut out or something. I don't know. I had originally heard that the showtime or the runtime for this movie was supposed to be close to 3 hours. I don't know how accurate that was. Well, I mean, it obviously wasn't accurate because the final runtime is just under 2. It's like 1 hour and 50 minutes. But those rumors about a 3-hour runtime make me wonder how true it was. And maybe that was why I got this sense at the end that there was something that wasn't acknowledged properly. And I would be curious to find out if there's an extended cut of this or a director's cut or whatever. But all in all, I had a really fun time watching it. Definitely don't regret it. Wasn't a huge disappointment to me. Not that I went into it with huge expectations, but I did go into it expecting to be entertained, and I was. And the crowd I was with, like I said, they were thoroughly entertained. They were very engaged with what was happening. They were talking back to the screen. This guy next to me was pretty vocal with what he thought about about a certain character or a certain situation. Some kids next to me were very excited about it, and like I said, at the end, there was clapping. I heard someone in the audience say that it was worth the wait. So certainly the crowd I was with was very happy with the final product, and I enjoyed it as well. And I don't think I have anything else to say. There's nothing a whole lot that I have to talk about when it comes to this movie, but these were the things that I had written down, and I just wanted to share it with you. And if you guys check out this movie, I hope you enjoy it. But if not, let me know what your thoughts were, especially if you're a fan of the game and there were certain things about this that didn't fit with what you expected as a fan of the game. Because I went into this a complete novice to this whole thing, and maybe that was a benefit for me. If certain fans weren't happy about it, I'm glad that I went into this as blind as I did. Okay, that's all I've got for now, so I'm going to wrap this up, and we'll see you guys later. Nos vemos!